So I'm going to open up to questions. Anyone like the microphone to ask? Wants the panelist the question?
So there's a differentiation between creating standards for ethnic studies and then making sure that it's offered in the curriculum, and then possibly making it a required course for high school graduates. Is that the case? I mean, is it possible to skip to step 2, or is that not really feasible? I mean, is it too much to ask these school systems?
I'll start with kind of our approach there. Standards are rewritten. It varies from, well, first of all, we have to remember there are 50 states in the Union, each setting their own standards. And probably the most difficult one to come up with any kind of set of standards that people agree to is in the social studies or social sciences. That's kind of understood. But having said that, each state only goes through a process of reassessing standards within a discipline probably every seven, maybe 10 years even. It's certainly not a regular basis because they put them on a cycle usually. This year we do social studies, next year we do science, next year we do language arts. So it's all that. So from my perspective, as important it is to kind of embed certain things into the standards or get a course approved in the state of Virginia. It's very hard to get through something that would be a state mandate. For example, we probably fought for 15 years to get a second year of world studies approved. And that was a long, long struggle. But in any case, once you have that, it then becomes a question of training the teachers to be able to do it, and that's, I think, one thing that all of us were addressing, the issue of professional development, because I think that's really the key. Because a teacher can take something that I think I was hinting at before, if it interests them, they'll teach it. They'll find a way to fix it so that it fits the standard. So if you teach them about, say, the example I gave, Wong Kim Ark, and that's the Supreme Court case that really is the landmark case for birthright citizenship, make that, when you teach the 14th Amendment, your key point. Don't go through just in your government or civics class and mouth off what the 14th Amendment is about birthright citizenship, due process, and equal protection of the laws. Use his example, or use the Kawamatsu case as the example for the 14th Amendment. I'll let others speak to those things too.
So what I was trying to emphasize in my presentation is that we just need to get people to understand and get people to be interested, to educate people, right? So like with this process, it actually took like 10 years. Like we keep going back to educate our lawmakers, to help them understand. In the same way, it's educating the community, And so we're able to get to where we are with ethnic studies being made into law. It's not just because of what I did, not just because of what some other groups have done, but also what students are demanding. So one of the biggest school districts in Oregon is the Portland Public Schools. They actually demanded for the school district to teach ethnic studies in their schools. And so I think it's really about both the top, like our title is the grassroots and the top down. It needs to happen in both ways, and I think we just need to continue to each time we talk about this, we make a dent. So like Alan was saying, Alan Spear, he's saying he's on the Capitol Hill tonight, right, making visits. So each time he visits a lawmaker, he makes a dent. So I think it's just like we need to keep poking, keep poking, keep poking.
I agree with Helen. You just have to really sustain the effort, and on multiple levels. But what we found that really prompted AB 2016 were the students themselves, making themselves visible, making themselves heard. That seemed to be really kind of a trend.
And so I want to add one more thing, is the teachers themselves, how important it is. And we actually had the Teacher of the Year came and speak with the advisory committee. And he talked about how he teaches social studies. And he talks about it from the angle of his own transformative experience. So I think with the shifts that we're talking about, it's really about having transformational experiences in each one's own work.
Great, thank you. We have a few more minutes left. Are there any other questions for the panel?
Hi, I'm Lisa Sun. I want to first applaud all three of you and everyone in this room, because I'm not an educator. But I'm sitting here totally inspired by what you've done and the commitment to making sure, not just in terms of ethnic studies, but really our plurality and multicultural society, it begs all of us to speak up right now. And today I stand here totally at awe at the work you do. But I do have a suggestion, because in the work that I do, I work with educators in a different way. We understand learning today is not just in the classroom. We understand that it's not just in one place. We travel, we meet people. And in that sort of edging, we learn. Is there a possibility we can explore beyond classroom? Because ethnic study to me is a living experiment. And if we all of us embrace that, I think there will be something that sparks. I think Helen, you said, it has to be transformational. But how does that begin? It begins with someone understanding, I don't share in the way you view your identity. So how should I view it through your eyes? So I was thinking out loud with all of you, where do we start that? Because I work with legislatures, and I'm respectful of their agenda. I work with educators, I'm respectful of their time constraint. And we also have something, universally we all know, budget. That budget always stands in the way. And I found many creative ways to overcome that, but this is too important. 10 years, 20 years, maybe a lifetime could be all committed to it. But we all know right now we need this. And I think people who understand this, we find it in their ways. For many of us, we're hoping to be inspired.
So thank you for the comment. I just want to say I'm inspired today simply just by hearing from our presenters that presented right before us, like RJ, you know, like what you're saying, let's not wait. Let's not wait for a law to be passed. Let's just make it happen, right? So I think some of these innovative ways, you know, our one-on-one contacts with people is educational, right? Every day we go out there. Well, so I organize a youth conference at home as well, and for Asian American youth in our community. So we just had one on April 26th. Like 400 students came to this conference, and we're talking about how they can be leaders in their community. These are Asian American students. So they're each going back to their schools, transforming their schools by what they learn. So I think it's really about one at a time, but then think about each one of us like we're like a snowflake, right? You guys know about snowflake? Like each end of the snowflake grows. Some more. Did you guys know that? Yeah. So it's like a snowflake model. It's exponential. When we do things, it's not just multiplication, not addition, but it's exponents that we can influence people.
Yeah, I think it was really good in seeing the planning out this, how the first part of the digital storytelling aspect really ties with what this is. And we, I think, have a goal for the next year really to meld those two so that we can get into this way of being able to reach out and communicate our message in a more effective way, so that if we have an experience that we know is really good, how can we clue in teachers, and then clue in those teachers to be able to have the students go and interact with whatever kinds of resources we know are out there. One thing that I forgot to put up there, my last slide really, was some connections that I think do show we have kind of an impact. If you're familiar with National Public Radio, they have a feature called Backstory, which takes an event in current events and then it goes deeper. It originates out of Charlottesville, Virginia, where the University of Virginia is. And they, for example, did a story on the Chinese Exclusion Act last November. I don't think it's an accident that we, the new beginnings and some of the work that we were doing here, that suddenly bubbles to the surface, and that's why they have a story like that. Or the Washington Post, same thing with they have a feature now called Metropolis, which has an audio thing. The New York Times has a similar kind of thing, where they have these extended clips that you can just go to the website and listen in on something there. Those, I think, we need to be able to tell teachers about them and be able to have them, clued in to be able to, sometimes run 3 minutes, sometimes longer, but people can really listen to those things and see what's going on.
I love your question too, and I just want to take a small piece and introduce kind of a concept that has evolved in Asian American studies. And that, in fact, Berkeley calls it Asian American diaspora studies. And that's taking a more global perspective. And so, and I love doing things out of the classroom. So recently I took a group of students from one of my classes last fall from Sacramento to Oakland, Chinatown, so they could see, feel, and taste a concrete geographical community. And some of them said they were transformed because I took them to places like Asian Health Services. And Asian Health Services in Oakland, Chinatown grew out of Asian American studies. The founders, I mean, it started as, kind of a health committee survey, evolved into a small one-room clinic, into 2 or 3-story buildings, comprehensive health center. And I take students to Asia frequently, and that's where it's intense. You're talking about 10 days. And not only that's transformative too, but also on a very personal level, besides the cultural competence that they feel like they can move around in different circles, learn how to take the subway in Hong Kong, that type of thing, like here in DC. But they feel more confident. They have a greater sense of who they are. They have a greater sense of history. And so I think bringing things outside of the classroom are really invaluable. And I think that needs to be in curriculum across the board.
All right, thank you. Allie, how are we for time?
I think we just want to get maybe concluding remarks.
All right. So can I have a round of applause? Thank you. And now if Lisa would like to wrap up our presentation and let us know what you think about this in the broader scheme of what we're doing this weekend.
I think there's the most common theme that we had among the three of us is really the need for educating the teachers, the professionals, to be more aware of the content, the role of Asian Americans, the distinctions among Asian Americans, because that's one of the, I think, the key differences too, is that we're not talking about just Chinese Americans, but in every community things are rapidly changing. So we have to, in the context of ethnic studies too, really make people very much aware of that. And in particular, in certain places like Virginia, maybe it's a little different out west, but the teaching population is overwhelmingly white. So this is a kind of just a cultural, I don't know, it's not exactly the word problem, but it's not part of the general teacher's experience to know the kinds of things that we want them to be able to communicate to students. And so when they're facing increasingly audiences among them, that they're students, they're not able in many ways to relate and communicate that kind of content to their students in an effective way. So it's something that I think we have to spend a lot of time with in professional development, and I think that's where we have to put a lot of our effort. That, of course, takes money too. School divisions have plenty of things they want to try to educate their teachers further about, and it's not always that easy to do.
So I'm just going to say something really quick here. What needs to be done here is that each one of us do something to educate other people on your own, right? Number 2, make ask of the decision makers to support this important work. Number 3, become a decision maker. Go for it. Run for office, get into decision-making spaces.
I think my colleagues have said, and friends, there's many different approaches to do this, and I think concretely, in terms of what we're here for today, and especially with the 1882 Foundation, is education. And I look at the teachers, I think you mentioned a 2-pronged process. One prong is in-service training for the teachers that are there now. And I still get questions in different high schools. why do I have to do this? What's this for? And to take that bottom common denominator, and some are ready to go. And so we really have to do really a concerted effort with our existing teachers and districts. On the other hand, my role as a university professor is, and especially in California, the CSU system. And the CSU system really is kind of the pipeline for teachers, one of the things. And that is, we're working right now, ethnic studies with the School of Education to collaborate together, partner, to have teachers better prepared to teach ethnic studies when they come out of Sac State. And so we have recently, we granted about 2 years ago, a Hispanic Living Institutional Grant from the Department of Education. And 1/4 of the grant is the implementation and training of high school teachers. So last year we did 50, this year we're doing 200, and next year 200. So from this one grant, we'll be doing 450 teachers in the Sacramento area.
Thank you, that's very heartening. That's wonderful. Can we have another round of applause for the